Hello everyone, Ray here. The future is here. 2017 is definitely the year all screen designs or infinity displays become practical. My 20 minutes long full review on the S8 Plus is out for a while, and this is it, the LG G6. Let's have a look. Right before the S8, all we know LG's released their latest and most futuristic flagship phone ever. The G6 is the year of bezel-less. However, as I've been playing with the S8 Plus for more than 2 weeks' time, the G6 looks a bit more conservative compared to that. Still, from that good use of space to this really great use of every inch of the chassis is a huge step up. And for those who ignored the S8 simply because the curved AMOLED display, thankfully you do have the option to get an IPS flat display if you get a G6. When it comes to the design game, however, LG's weird implementation of the dual camera lenses is still here. But compared to the G5 and the V20, the G6 looks slightly more sophisticated and sleek, is absolutely a mature product and a complete package. The transition from the glass panels to the metal frames simply perfect. No plastic frame, cushioning wraps, those sort of things. But thanks to the chamfered edges, even though the level of craftsmanship nowhere come close to what Samsung's achieved on the S8, it's not exactly a 90 degrees razor-sharp awkward switching materials. Still close, it does feel sharp and boxy in hands, but it would be really great news for those who always put glass protectors on their phones. Anyway, here we've come to another downside of the design. The aluminum frame does feel a bit 2015. The design's relatively on the industrial side, with a slightly mushy volume rockers, and do mind the gap. Get a black one to get rid of those black bars around the screen. However, this is it, IP68 water and dust resistance. Overall, it's the first phone from LG that comes with glass and metal. It definitely feels much more premium than the G5 and the V20, which were like sticking pieces and pieces of cheap plastic or maybe metal together. Not the best looking flashy and shiny design out there, but LG's finally done this right. And the lack of bezels also tell is from 2017. Now LG's done at least one thing far better than Samsung. The fingerprint reader / power combo buttons right here. Right at the sweet spot, but when it comes to speed, Huawei is still on the top of the list. And here we come to the bottom side. There we have a USB Type-C port with USB on-the-go support, a single down-varying speaker, which is a shame. However, the microphones are simply mind-blowing. The microphones on the G6 definitely another surprise, same as the V20, full of features, and it supports also left channel and the right channel. Definitely the best quality microphone on any smartphone. The G6 also comes with an NFC chip, but interestingly LG seems to have really high expectation on the always-on display. It does shows notifications properly, with the related apps icons right below the clock, but for those who are gonna turn off the always-on display, just to make sure not even a single % of the battery wasted on the backlight of the IPS display, you are gonna miss the notification light badly. Generally speaking, the G6 is possibly one of the best looking phones LG's made in recent years. At least it gives a unified, unibody-like feeling in hands, with those bezels, I mean almost no bezels. Now, performance and features. First of all, double tap to wake and sleep is definitely the most user-friendly feature ever, together with knock code. The G6 one of the very few phones which has a fingerprint reader mounted on the back, but has no issue while unlocking it right away when it's on the table. And thanks to Android 7.0, the G6 carries the handy notification preview feature, and of course, multi-window. Due to its now supported even in stock Android, apps compatibility is far better than older LG phones. Another really smart but nothing new shortcut, double tapping the volume up button to quickly launch Quick Memo Plus, and volume down for camera. That's about it. Instead of packing as many features as they can, LG's streamlined the interface and made it far less memory hungry than some of its competitors. We'll check out the real-world performance in a second. Before that is the 18:9 screen. The full vision design does make it stand out from the crowd, but in reality not every single app is designed to run on this new and read ratio. As a result, the system will automatically detect if the app natively supports it. In reality, it really surprised me that most of the mainstream modern 3D titles, Asphalt 8, Dynasty Warriors, even Need for Speed have no issue adapting to this new ratio. Oh, of course, there are popular games, including Clash Royale, struggles to scale properly. You are either getting black bars or information cut. LG's scaling flexibility also falls behind Samsung's approach when it comes to video watching platforms, including YouTube, Amazon Prime, and Netflix. On the G6, you will be wasting all the 4 sides of the display while watching 21:9 movies. On the S8, however, we can make a good use of the display, minimizing the black bars. But they didn't stop there, it also gives the users their decisions to crop further and fit the entire screen. It's a mile ahead when it comes to videos watching, no doubt. On contrary, LG's made a good use of the 18:9, 2:1 screen, splitting the screen into 2 perfect squares. The upper one works normally as a viewfinder, while the lower one shows the previous shot, and gives us a rough idea on how it looks like on probably Instagram. The camera roll preview feature in the regular camera apps also a smart idea. It basically shows the previous 4 to 5 images taken directly on the upper side of the interface. Back to the main thing, the performance. It is the absolute snappiest LG phone ever, if you stick with the iPhone-like single-layer launcher. It is actually one of the most responsive manufacturer-customized interfaces out there. However, once we've switched back to the Android legacy 2-layers interface, the animations are still silky smooth, but apps tends to launch half a second after I've touched it. Not necessarily a huge deal, but it definitely tells. Optimization's not perfect. And yes, it's powered by an outdated Snapdragon 821 processor from 2016, and it's May 2017, with 4 gigs of RAM. Flagships rocking the latest Snapdragon 835 are just around the corner. Is it a smart idea spending hundreds of pounds or dollars on an outdated platform? It really depends, as we've concluded last time on the review of the S8. The newer and greater processors actually delivered next to none performance gain in reality. The G6 absolutely good to go. Other than just talking, here's the standard apps opening speed test. When it comes to multitasking, the G6 also delivers stable and standard flagship performance. All the apps were kept in memories in the second round. It has actually outperformed the S8 Plus, which struggled to keep all the apps in memories under extreme workload, like in this test. So the G6 does pack outdated hardware, but it delivers respectable performance in reality. The camera is the surprising bit. The same 13 megapixels sensor with 1.12 micron pixels and a 1.8 aperture, 3-axis optical image stabilization and face detection autofocus. Right, LG's taken away laser autofocus on the G6. As a result, the G6 can get the focus right, even in moderate to dark indoor environment, but it tends to move the lens forward and backwards to search for the right spot. The S8 with dual pixel technology is the clear winner. Touch to focus basically instant. The main upgrade though happens on the secondary wide-angle lens. It does the same magic as last year's model, extending the field of view from 71 degrees to 125 degrees, but it now shoots crisper 13 megapixels photos. Yep, megapixels count might tell nothing in some cases, but this time around the upgrade is real. More on that later. 71 degrees field of view, not even a single bike appeared in full. 125 degrees, all of them easy. Another one originally is plain and dull, now is clearly a photo taken in spring. This time around is the furthest I can get. The ultra-wide angle lens simply can't get anything better than this on a smartphone. Again, right next to a skyscraper with a really unique style of architecture. Ordinary phones can only capture this, but the G6, amazing. Another really cool designed building, normally it's like this. Again, the G6 captured exactly what I wanted, just on the other side of the road. LG's unique interpretation of a dual lens module really worth some applause. Originally it's like this, and the wide-angle lens is a huge step up from the G5 or the V20. Even when I pointed it to direct and intense light sources, lens flare is no longer an issue on the G6, while the distortion on the edges of the images are also barely noticeable, which is breathtaking on any wide-angle lens. Even with moderate to harsh lighting, the G6 captured all the details in the shadows, without any lens flare or exposure problems at all. Again, almost no distortion on the edges. The wide-angle lens on the G6 no longer just a gimmick, it is totally usable in all situations and all kinds of lightings. And it even produces images with top-notch clarity and quality overall. Now we know the wide-angle lens captures impressive still images, but the same magic applies in 4K video recording. The wide-angle lens does lack optical image stabilization, but thanks to the wider field of view together with a little bit of fisheye effect, the footages don't actually wobble that much. Yep, that was it. LG's done a really great job in minimizing the time lag while switching between the two lenses. And speaking of video recording, thankfully the G6 has carried the fully loaded manual mode even for videos. All the exposure, ISO, shutter speed and the white balance can be set manually, and most importantly can be changed throughout the whole video. And wait, even picking focus on a smartphone, even the frame rate, 24 and as low as 1 frame per second. Incredible. Right, the aging 13 megapixels Sony IMX258 sensor is last-gen technology again. However, the images taken with this supposed to be low-quality camera module are actually quite good. Really great actually, not only under broad daylight, but also at night. More on that in a minute. So during daytime you can tell the images is from LG right away, thanks to the noticeable but adequate sharpening effect. Colors are also right at a sweet spot. Sharp and vivid, but not as fake and over-exaggerated as the S8. The G6 shoots crisp, clear, saturated, but far less artificial photos than probably the P10 Plus and the S8. Overall, the G6 delivers top-notch image quality under broad daylight, even with a shitty outdated sensor. Colors are vibrant, sharpening effect is noticeable, but well under control. Put it right next to the S8, surprisingly it captured the exact same amount of details. The relatively redder and warmer white balance together with the saturated colors do make it stand out and pops. But the truth is, the G6 stays true to the actual environment. Again, really close, but the S8 renders red with slightly more depth to it. The dynamic range is also marginally wider on the S8. And this is how the S8 turns a cloudy, miserable day to a sunny, delightful afternoon. Again, a greener, flatter image on the G6, while the S8 Plus gave a really sharp and vivid, relatively reddish and warm photo. The good news is, no matter which one you've picked, they are gonna capture the exact same amount of details. The difference would be more dramatic in low light, but most of the time is a matter of the white balance still. But at night, the warmer tone and the reddish tint is more pleasing to the eyes, to be honest. The amount of light and details the G6 managed to get with his crappy sensor, however, is magnificent. Most of the time, even in no-light scenes, is on a par with the S8, which has been proven to be even more capable than the Pixel on our full view. Starting from this shot, however, the white balance on the G6 shifts to the reddish side significantly, and it happens every time in extreme low-light scenes. The brightness is still there, but the S8 is the clear winner in terms of clarity and noise reduction. But generally speaking, the G6 gives comparable brightness to the S8 even in some of the most challenging scenarios. Much better than I've expected, just a bit noisy and reddish. Stay tuned for the full comparison between the S8 and the G6. The display, definitely a breakthrough. Those tiny bezels make all other phones look outdated, except the S8. That's more on the design perspective. The display itself though supports HDR10 for the impressive dynamic range, and Dolby Vision for the extra-wide color gamut. You will need sources published according to those standards to enjoy the movie exactly as the producers wanted. Generally speaking, if you prefer IPS technologies over AMOLED for some reasons, the display here is a top-quality IPS panel. The major downside is it will never achieve the same inky deep black on AMOLED displays, and similar to the camera, the display here on the G6 a bit on the cooler side and greenish side. If you prefer those vivid colors on AMOLED displays, go for the S8. Otherwise, you don't have to worry about the burn-in issue here on the G6. And this is it, the Quad DAC. Although wireless charging can be cool sometimes, it is not fully wireless unless you have a power bank like mine. Headphone audio quality on the G6 however is truly amazing. It offers a whopping 75 distinct levels of volume, and it actually plays 32-bit 192 kHz audio with a significantly wider soundstage. Much better separation between the vocal and the background music. With a balanced and delicate touch to the sound, it neither emphasizes the bass nor gives a warm tone to please your ears. But instead, it stays true to the original soundtrack, simply the best audio quality on a smartphone. Unfortunately, the single down-firing speaker is not comparable to HTC, Apple, or even Huawei's dual speaker setups. Still one of the better, louder, and richer single speakers. Last but another surprise, the battery life. It is indeed smaller than the S8 Plus and the Pixel XL, but LG has managed to squeeze a 3300 mAh battery on this tiny chassis, even larger capacity than the one on the V20. According to the first round of the battery life test, 40% of the battery was left, after 4 hours of YouTube videos playback at maximum screen brightness. It actually performed slightly worse than the V20. But due to the much brighter display, the first round of the battery life test might only tell part of the story. So the second round is based on 50% screen brightness, playing YouTube videos for an hour, scrolling along the Facebook timeline for another hour, and finally playing Clash Royale for an hour. Altogether, 3 hours of media consumption, more than 60% of the battery was left. So in normal day-to-day use, with normal screen brightness, the G6 actually gives leading battery life. Amazing. Oh, don't forget, Quick Charge 3.0, battery life surprisingly great on this guy. The LG G6, finally a well-designed and well-built phone from LG, is the only IPS-based, flat, one-hand manageable, almost bezel-less phone right now. While IP68 water dust resistant and the brilliant microphones also prove the G6 is a mature product. The camera is another surprise, simply the best phone for travelers. The display is also the best from LG ever, with extremely high brightness, wide color gamut and high dynamic range, and no burn-in, with a best-in-class 32-bit Quad DAC and a relatively high capacity battery. The G6 is absolutely an all-rounder, with great performance in every aspect. So that's it for today. Hope you all enjoyed watching this video. Like it if you liked it, and don't forget to subscribe. There are also more videos like this coming, and LG G6 versus S8 Plus. See you next time.